En als we deze zomer niet samen de winter voorbereiden, dan is er een groot risico dat we deze winter allemaal tezamen zware problemen hebben. En dat is denk ik het laatste wat we nodig hebben. We hebben al hoge inflatie. We hebben al hoge energieprijzen. Onze bevolking die moet dat allemaal dragen. En wat men van ons verwacht op een moment als nu is dat we als Europese landen samen onze bevolking gaan verdedigen en inderdaad een economische situatie die geen eenvoudig is.
Wat verwacht u van Christine Lagarde? De rente stijgt, dat is ook slecht voor België. Onze interestlasten stijgen daardoor. Het wordt moeilijker om de schuld terug te betalen. Wat verwacht u van de Europese Centrale Bank?
Wel, om te kijken wat zijn nu de economische recepten die je moet gebruiken. Het is duidelijk dat we niet meer in een situatie zitten waar de ECB tot nu toe zei het zal een beetje inflatie zijn en het zal weggaan. Nee, het is wel duidelijk dat het er voor een lange tijd zal zijn. Als we niet opletten, gaat de ganse Europese economie naar een recessie met alle gevolgen die eraan vasthangen. Dus we verwachten dat de Europese Centrale Bank voor een stuk aangeeft welk beleid zij gaan voeren om een potentiële recessie tegen te gaan. Maar ook welk beleid wij als lidstaten moeten voeren en hoe we dat met elkaar kunnen coördineren.
Na de, laten we zeggen, euforie is misschien veel gezegd over Oekraïne. Gisteren is het nu toch weer met de voet op de grond, economische toestand.
Ja, Oekraïne was een belangrijk symbolisch signaal, maar het is nog maar het begin van het begin. Oekraïne zit zeker nog meer dan 10 jaar weg van de Europese Unie. Maar vandaag gaat het over de realiteit. Gaat het over wat gebeurt er vandaag, wat gebeurt er morgen. Het gaat over de financiën van de mensen, de moeilijkheden die we hebben met die hoge energieprijzen. En daar hebben we al heel veel over gesproken. Ons land heeft die discussie aangetrokken in maart. We hebben afspraken gemaakt, die moeten in de praktijk gebracht worden en de commissie moet daar de leiding nemen.
Nog een vraag. Hoe reageerde president Zelensky op dat lidmaatschap, kandidaat-lidmaatschap, dat gisteren is mogelijk gemaakt?
President Zelensky was voor een stuk blij natuurlijk met het signaal dat hij krijgt van de Europese Unie. Maar hij begreep ook zeer goed dat het een signaal is. En dat hij nog zeer, zeer ver afstaat van een eventueel lidmaatschap, misschien binnen 10, 15 jaar. Het is vooral een aanmoediging, een signaal die wij als Europeanen geven aan de Oekraïners, namelijk we staan aan uw kant. Maar jammer genoeg is zijn dagelijkse realiteit nog altijd een land in oorlog.
Heeft u uitgenodigd? Gaat u?
Te bekijken. Ik heb bijzonder veel werk in ons land. Dat is de eerste prioriteit. En dat wil ik eerst kunnen afwerken voor de zomer.
Ik kan nog een vraag stellen in het Frans.
Oké.
Ik zie dat er een stalen collega
Ga maar even kijken, want mijn telefoon is goed. Wie weet, je moet terug naar huis of zo.
Als u bellen dat begonnen is.
Ja.
Nee, het begint nooit te vroeg. Het begint altijd laat. Diep nadenken in het Frans.
Ja, dat kan ik niet. Nee.
Anders ben ik gewoon. Aujourd'hui, on parle de l'économie.
Oui, la situation sur le marché des gaz, l'Allemagne a lancé phase alerte 2. Qu'est-ce que ça signifie pour l'Europe, pour la Belgique en général?
On s'oriente vers un hiver qui peut être difficile. On voit que il y a des pays qui sont en train de s'organiser pour les mois qui viennent avoir moins d'approvisionnement de gaz. On va uniquement pouvoir traverser une période difficile si on le fait ensemble. La Belgique a entamé ce débat il y a quelques mois déjà en disant on doit faire un vrai bloc d'énergie, on doit acheter ensemble, on doit utiliser des plafonds de prix et on doit mieux se coordonner. Et on en a parlé beaucoup, on a fait beaucoup de textes. Maintenant, la Commission doit vraiment prendre le lead là-dedans et nous organiser ensemble. Si on le fait d'une manière dispersée, on va pas s'en sortir et on va tous avoir les effets négatifs. Si aujourd'hui, l'Allemagne déjà se dit que pendant l'hiver, ils vont avoir une pénurie de gaz, l'impact sera énorme pour l'Allemagne, mais pour tous les autres pays européens aussi.
Merci.
Ok, voilà.
zum Beispiel Punkte iwwer Wahl fir d'Europawahlen techt alles do, wo man kein Tretisänderung können hunn soll me mal atelieren, da war man lo noch viel diskutieren, wat man soll man da net machen, da immer schon bald bei den Europawahlen mir net zugefangen mat machen. Do se lo seier die juristisch Etyd machen an dann let's go.
Mit wie hast du Stimmungen an den Staats- der Regierungschef?
team. Hello, good morning. Well, there's. I'll speak for Slovakia because that's where we deal with the. We have to realize the inflation will stay with us for a longer period, as we see right now, and I think it's very important to really come up with national solutions in the capabilities. What I mean by that, in Slovakia we are producers of the nuclear energy, and we're able to agree with the company that is providing that they will provide certain guaranteed prices, I would say. It's not a cap, but it's a guaranteed prices for the next 2 years, for the 23 and 24, which helps us very much for the households to keep the prices lower. So this is one of the solutions because we have to realize that budgetary, it's very important that we still have in mind the sustainability of public finances. So therefore, this is one of the solutions, and we have to look for these kind of solutions that are smart and that are based on agreement also with the market, because we don't want to, I would say, to push the market to unhealthy behavior.
Are you worried that the European Union is heading to a recession, Prime Minister?
Well, we don't have time to be worried because we have to face what we have to face. I mean, look, everything is risk. I mean, we went through pandemic with the COVID, and were we worried? Of course, we were worried. But on the other hand, we had to compete with it or work with it. And we did, and we were successful. So right now, as I said, it's very important that every country does what it's in its forces, and they do. Every country does, and this discussion will be very important. But like I said, we have to be very wise and always think of the sustainability of the public finances. That's very important because the COVID cost us a lot of money, and we have to think twice what we do now. Of course, we want to help the households and the businesses. That's why we have to look for the smart solutions. Thank you. Bye-bye. Thank you.
to take a very big and very meaningful decision granting the candidacy status for joining the EU to both Ukraine and Moldova. We have been talking about this for quite some time. The European Commission made an assessment, and based upon this assessment we could move forward. And it shows actually a very powerful thing. It shows that the European Union, in times of crisis, we as heads of governments can come together, decide on a common direction and move forward. So this is very good news for Ukraine and Moldova, and I think it's very good news for the European Union as well.
What do you think the EU should do against rising energy prices? Prime Minister, I'd like to ask you more about the economic picture because it's going to be the main focus here today. Are you concerned that the European Union and the Eurozone, for that matter, are heading to a recession?
The Ukrainians right now are paying with their lives. We, in the rest of Europe, are paying with our wallets, and it's very difficult to compare. The inflationary pressures are because of Russia's war in Ukraine. We have to remember that. Now, we as governments can take various measures to help our citizens and to alleviate some of the pain of inflation. I think it's important that we speak with one another and see if it would be best if we could take common measures, because they would be the most effective. But of course it's difficult to predict how the war will proceed, and therefore how inflation and what kind of an effect that will have on the economy. Central banks are predicting that there will be a slowdown. This is, of course, a concern, but I think the primary concern right now is citizens, especially citizens who have less means, that we targeted with targeted assistance help them to get through, especially the coming winter.
Italy asked for a new meeting next month to talk about the economic and the energy situations. Are you supportive of an emergency meeting to debate this further?
We have been coming together very frequently. If there's a need, I'm of course willing and happy to come together sooner. The question is there a result of us coming together? So if we just come together to speak, well, I don't know if there's a great purpose in that, but if there are decisions to be made, this would be a good reason, and I think it would really be after today's discussion. We'll see how the discussion goes, and then what the Commission is saying, because the Commission is that who, they would help prepare decisions for us to take.
Mr. Tajik, about Georgia. So many people in Georgia are really disappointed by this decision, blaming the Georgian government that had a chance to receive this candidate status. So what can you say?
What I can say is that the Georgian government has every opportunity to go through the steps to do the various reforms that are very well known to the government. There's a continual communication between the Commission and the Georgian government. It's all possible, and I can say as the head of the Latvian government, the reforms that we did before joining the European Union were extremely important for us. And it greatly improved our own governance, and it's one of the reasons why our standard of living keeps going up today. So the reforms are definitely worth it. And from the European side, the door is open, and we're hoping that the Georgian government will take the necessary steps.
What can the EU do against high energy prices?
The best thing that we could do to bring down energy prices is for Russia to stop the war in Ukraine, withdraw its soldiers, and repent. It doesn't seem in the short term that this is necessarily going to happen. So the first thing and the best thing that we can do as governments is support those portions of society that are suffering the most now because of higher inflation. Today there will be discussion. Is there something at the European level that could be done to bring down energy prices, either through collective purchases or something like that? But this is probably a medium to longer term solution. So right now we are all suffering economically because of Russia's war, but we have to remember it's Russia's war which is causing the suffering.
What about the situation in Kaliningrad? Is this also subject to debate?
The situation in Kaliningrad is very well known. This enclave of Russia, it's where it is. We have a certain sanction regime of transport of goods through the European Union. The sanction regime is generally known, and we need to stick to it. Thank you very much. I don't see any indication of a reason to speak about some great crisis right now. Thank you very much. Well, it's significant for many reasons. One is it literally extends the hand of friendship and of openness to a country which is in a war right now with Russia, and Moldova, which is also very vulnerable. But maybe more important for us Europeans is that we are once again in the business of looking to expand, looking to have the family of democratic nations grow ever larger. And I think this is a good signal to all of Europe, because as Europe has gained more and more member states, and these are member states which are ready to join, which have undergone the reforms, which have democratic governance, the rule of law and all of this, it increases all of our well-being. So the well-being in Germany, in France, in Portugal goes up as more member states come into the Union. So it's good that in these very troubling times there are still nations that want to be like us.
Still, it is a very lengthy process. Are you not afraid that Ukraine's expectations could be disappointed in the end?
As with all of these processes, in the end, it's up to the Ukrainians themselves to make the necessary reforms. My own country went through this process. It was quite a number of years. It was sometimes a nervous process, but in the end, the hope and the goal of joining the European Union helped us to persevere. I think with the Ukrainians, it will be exactly the same.
What kind of signal or message does this...
Guten Morgen. 27 Mal hat gestern die Europäische Union Ja gesagt zu der Mitgliedschaft der Ukraine und Moldawiens in der Europäischen Union. Wir haben gemeinsam den Beitrittskandidatenstatus verliehen. Das ist ein großer Fortschritt. Wir haben auch diskutiert über die Staaten des westlichen Balkans. Alle 6 können sich darauf verlassen, dass Deutschland sie dabei unterstützen wird, dass sie jetzt schnelle Fortschritte machen bei ihrem Weg nach Europa. Das ist ein Weg, der schon lange beschritten worden ist, und deshalb müssen jetzt auch schnelle, sichtbare Erfolge für die vielen Anstrengungen, die die Bürgerinnen und Bürger und die Länder dieser Region in den letzten Jahren unternommen haben, sichtbar werden. Dafür setzen wir uns ein, und deshalb ist das eine erste sehr gute Debatte gewesen. Aber wir werden fest daran bleiben, diese Beitrittsperspektive dieser 6 Länder zu unterstützen. Alle 6 können sich auf Deutschland verlassen.
Herr Bundeskanzler, heute geht es mal wieder um Energiepreise.
Es ist sehr wichtig, dass wir über die wirtschaftliche Situation diskutieren. Wir stehen vor großen Herausforderungen weltwirtschaftlich. Die haben sehr viel zu tun mit dem Krieg Russlands gegen die Ukraine. Aber natürlich ist das auch eine Konsequenz vieler anderer Verwerfungen, die wir zum Beispiel in der Folge von Covid-19 hatten. Und deshalb ist es wichtig, dass wir miteinander zusammen diese schwierige wirtschaftliche Lage besprechen, aber auch Perspektiven entwickeln. Und klar ist, sie werden nur funktionieren, wenn wir das tun, was jetzt sowieso auf der Tagesordnung steht, nämlich dafür zu sorgen, dass wir schnell klimaneutral wirtschaften können, dass wir die erneuerbaren Energien ausbauen, dass wir unsere wirtschaftlichen Strukturen so entwickeln, dass wir schnell CO2-neutrale ökonomische Stabilität gewinnen. Und genau darum werden wir diskutieren.
Herr Bundeskanzler, wenn Putin den Gashahn abdreht, was kann Europa denn jetzt gemeinsam dagegen tun?
Wir sind alle gemeinsam sehr, sehr sorgfältig vorbereitet auf die schwierige Herausforderung, die sich mit den Importen von fossilen Ressourcen aus Russland verbinden. Deshalb haben wir sehr frühzeitig nicht nur Sanktionen verhängt, was Kohle und Öl betrifft, sondern auch alle Aktivitäten unternommen, um unsere Infrastrukturen so zu entwickeln, dass wir auch aus anderen Ländern zum Beispiel Gas importieren können. Das ist eine Anstrengung, die jetzt noch mal weiter beschleunigt werden muss. Und große Herausforderungen sind mit dieser Sache selbstverständlich verbunden. Aber da werden wir uns unterhalten. Schönen Dank.
Minister of Foreign Affairs of Cyprus. The Vice President of the Gambia. The Prime Minister of Mozambique. The Prime Minister of Tonga. The Prime Minister of Samoa. The Prime Minister of Belize. The Prime Minister of the Bahamas. The Prime Minister of Cameroon. The Vice President of the United Republic of Tanzania. The Deputy Prime Minister of Malta. The Deputy Prime Minister of Australia. The Minister of Finance, Economic Planning and Information Technology of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. The Minister of Foreign Affairs of Bangladesh. The President of Zambia. The President of the Seychelles. The Prime Minister of Lesotho. The President of the Maldives. The President of Botswana. The President of Ghana. The Prime Minister of Antigua and Barbuda. The President of Nigeria. The Prime Minister of Jamaica. Mauritius. Guyana. The Minister the President of Kenya. The Prime Minister of Dominica.
Secretary General, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, good morning to you all. My name is Ambassador Yamina Karitanyi, and it is an honor to be your Master of Ceremonies on this special day. In 2009, Rwanda was admitted into the Commonwealth of Nations. And in 2018, our country was selected as the next host of the Commonwealth Heads of Government meeting. The COVID-19 pandemic had its way for the last 2 years, but we are finally able to gather. And as we say in Kinyarwanda, murakaza neza. It is now my honor to invite His Excellency Paul Kagame, our host and incoming chair in office of the Commonwealth, to deliver his welcome remarks. Mr. President.
Your Highnesses, Your Majesties, Your Excellencies, Secretary General, special guests, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, it's a pleasure and honor to welcome you to the 26th Commonwealth Heads of Government meeting, the 6th in Africa, and the first since our world was turned upside down by a devastating pandemic. We join together to pay tribute to Her Majesty, the Queen, the head of the Commonwealth, and its most devoted champion. Over her 70 years of service, the Commonwealth has grown both in number and in the scope of its ambition. The fact of holding this meeting in Rwanda, a new member with no historical connection to the British Empire, expresses our choice to continue reimagining the Commonwealth for a changing world. The Commonwealth does not replace other institutions, it adds to them. That's why we always have important special guests with us. This year, let me recognize in particular His Highness, the Emir of Qatar, and I thank him for being here with us. The Commonwealth we need is on the front lines of global challenges, not on the periphery, watching events unfold. Our special strength is to bring issues into focus that might otherwise be overlooked. For instance, the way that climate change puts the very existence of small islands and developing states into jeopardy, or the possibility to transcend size and geography by leveraging new technologies to create high-quality global jobs for our youth right at home. We are united by a shared language, whether English is our first second, third, or even fourth one. But what really defines us are the values enshrined in the Commonwealth Charter and a commitment to good governance, the rule of law, and the protection of rights. That's why we shall always remain open to new voices and new members. And wherever we might fall short, we find solutions through consensus and dialogue. We build each other up and we move forward together. In closing, I want to welcome you all to Rwanda. Ours is a country that was torn apart by genocide and division just a generation ago. Today, we are a nation transformed in heart, mind, and body. Three-quarters of our population are young people with no memory of those events. Everything we do, including joining the Commonwealth in 2009, is aimed at making sure that our people are connected, included, and forward-looking. We are delighted that through CHOGM, you have the opportunity to get to know us, and we aim to repay that trust with many years of continued friendship. I thank you.
Thank you, Your Excellency, for your welcome remarks. Let us now enjoy a performance by Urukerereza, the National Ballet of Rwanda. The performance illustrates our country's culture and oral traditions. I hope you have all enjoyed this performance by our national ballet, Urukerereza. It is now my pleasure to invite the Secretary General of the Commonwealth, the Right Honourable Patricia Scotland, to deliver her remarks.
Mr. President, thank you for welcoming us to your beautiful, inspiring country. It is so wonderful to be in Rwanda and in this incredible, thriving, rising continent. Your Majesties, Your Majesties, Your Royal Highnesses, Your Excellencies, Honourable Ministers, distinguished guests, friends and colleagues, welcome to Kigali. This CHOGM has been a long time coming. The period since we last gathered together has been marked with sorrow. More than 1 million of our brothers and sisters across the Commonwealth from all walks of life, including heads of government, have died. And as we formally open this vital meeting, I invite you all to join with me in a moment of silent reflection in memory of them all. Excellencies, in 1953, Her Majesty the Queen shared her vision for a Commonwealth which bears no resemblance to the empires of the past, to an entirely new conception built on the highest qualities of the spirit of man, friendship, loyalty, and the desire for freedom and peace. An equal partnership of nations and races to which she would give her heart and soul. She has given her heart and soul. In the year of her Platinum Jubilee, with heartfelt thanks and the greatest admiration, we pay tribute to her. And we warmly welcome her representative, and the future head of the Commonwealth, His Royal Highness, the Prince of Wales. Her Majesty's vision remains the standard against which we judge ourselves as a family of nations. In 1919, at the end of a war which killed millions, during a pandemic which killed millions more, leaders gathered in France, striving for an internal peace. Their quest was noble, but it failed. That failure had profound and devastating consequences. After the horrors and bloodshed of the Second World War, it fell upon a new generation to shape a just and lasting peace, and the international system as we know it today was born. The Commonwealth is part of that system, brought together to bring a touch of healing to kinships which were changing, but which continue to bind us. I believe profoundly that the Commonwealth today, in 2022, is a beacon within that international system, a place where people come together, where we work together, where no voice is louder or more important than any other, and where no one is left behind. Yes, we have shared interests and practical advantages, but we are the most significant grouping of countries in the history of the world, which is bound, above all, by values which we all aspire to. These values of peace and justice, of tolerance, respect, and solidarity, and our role as the foremost international champion for small and vulnerable states remain our enduring responsibility. They express a vision for the world that will outlast all of us. They make us different. They make us special. Honoring these values and that vision is our most sacred trust and our gift to the generations which will follow. Today, as we gather in the midst of new and decisive shifts in our world, it is imperative that those values shape the choices we will make in the hours and days ahead. The economic damage of COVID and mounting debt confront us all. The rapid intensification of climate change poses an existential threat. The tremors of conflict and instability in our world, the spiraling costs of food and fuel, and economic uncertainty threaten a serious and protracted crisis. This CHOGM is first and foremost an opportunity to find answers to these questions. It will not be easy. We will have to dig deep. We will have to respect each other and find what joins us. We must trust each other. We must talk and listen to each other and give all that we have to achieve progress for the 2.5 billion people we all represent. But here, in Rwanda, something else is at stake, something even more transformational. The world is changing. People are anxious. I understand the pressure on each and every head of state today. The last few years have shaken the kaleidoscope. But before the pieces settle, we have an opportunity right here, right now. to show the world what real unity, real solidarity, real cooperation, and real progress look like. To have served as your Secretary General these past 6 years is the great honor and privilege of my life. Together, we have been friends in good times and in bad, voices for the voiceless, advocates for development and progress. We have laid the foundations for transformational change, and I am determined that when the role of Secretary General rotates to Africa 2 years from now, I will hand on the baton with a stronger, more effective, more powerful Commonwealth than ever before. I have an unshakable belief that we can take our Commonwealth to new heights, to hold our values ever closer, and to set an example for the whole world. As Her Majesty the Queen has said, it has always been easy to hate and destroy. To build and to cherish is much more difficult. This week, face to face with each other and in the presence of her son and heir, we have the greatest opportunity we will ever have to live up to those words. It is a huge task, but if our history tells us anything, it is that we can seize the moment with confidence in our values and each other. And I thank you.
Thank you, Secretary General. Please join me in welcoming the Right Honourable Boris Johnson, Prime Minister of the United Kingdom and outgoing Chair in Office of the Commonwealth.
Thank you very much. Your Royal Highness, Your Majesties, President Kagame, Madam Secretary General, Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, I am honoured to perform the final duty of the United Kingdom as Chair in Office of the Commonwealth and hand over the baton to President Kagame and wish him every success as Chair of our unique association, encompassing 54 countries and a third of humanities. One of our newest members is now at the helm, and more nations are seeking to join, which tells you everything you need to know about the health and vitality of our Commonwealth, because for all the differences between us, we're united by an invisible thread of shared values, history, and friendship. The head of the Commonwealth, Her Majesty the Queen, incarnates everything that brings us together, and it's fitting that in the year of her Platinum Jubilee, the association she cherishes should be gathering in the continent where she became Queen. When the UK became your chair in office in 2018, the word COVID had not been invented. Many of us had no idea what a coronavirus was, and nobody could have known that the worst pandemic for a century would soon claim millions of lives. The British government put together the partnership between Oxford University and AstraZeneca that produced the world's most popular vaccine, and during our time as chair in office, the UK supported the delivery of more than 1.4 billion doses of COVID vaccines to Commonwealth countries. Thank you. The pandemic posed a common threat to all humanity, and the same is true of catastrophic climate change. No one understands this better than our Commonwealth friends in the Caribbean, the Pacific, and the Indian Ocean, who can see the incoming tide surging ever higher up their beaches, threatening to inundate their villages and towns, and in time, the entire landmass of some island states. For them, the baleful effects of climate change aren't vague or theoretical, but already happening before their eyes. When we hosted COP26 in Glasgow last November, it was these fellow Commonwealth leaders who spoke with the greatest urgency and authority about the perils of quilting the earth with greenhouse gases. And we in the developed world have an obligation to help our friends to cope with a danger they had no hand in causing. And during the UK's time as chair in office, the Commonwealth Finance Access Hub mobilised over $38 million for the most vulnerable members. But of course, we must press on and do more. And if I could imagine a silver bullet that would solve an array of problems and transform countless lives, it would be to give every girl in the world the chance to go to school. At the last CHOGM in London in 2018, the UK announced £212 million for the Girls' Education Challenge, and I'm delighted to say that this initiative is now at work in 11 Commonwealth countries, ensuring that girls are able to gain at least 12 years of quality education. We need to empower them to play their full part in the economy when they leave school, so the UK is funding the She Trades Commonwealth programme, which has already helped over 3,500 women-owned businesses to become more competitive and generate more than £32 million worth of sales. And if there is anyone who doubts the ability of the Commonwealth to speak with one voice, it was in June 2020 that the UK delivered the first ever joint statement by all 54 Commonwealth members before the Human Rights Council in Geneva, recalling, and I quote, "our proud history of acting to strengthen good governance and the rule of law. One of the greatest affronts to everything we stand for is Russia's invasion of Ukraine and Putin's blockade of the ports that would otherwise be shipping food to the world's poorest people. At this moment, nearly 25 million tons of corn and wheat is piled up in silos across Ukraine, held hostage by Russia. Britain supports the United Nations plan to get that food out, and we will invest over £370 million in global food security this year, including £130 million for the World Food Programme. We want to work alongside our Commonwealth friends to understand your needs, your priorities, and to deliver joint solutions to a crisis that Putin has deliberately engineered. For now, it only remains for me to thank every Commonwealth member for having given the United Kingdom the chance to serve as chair in office. And as I pass on this responsibility to President Kagame, a close friend and a partner, I know that he shares my boundless optimism about the future of the Commonwealth at the forefront of the international agenda and benefiting all our peoples. Thank you all very much.
Thank you for your remarks, Mr. Prime Minister. It is now my great privilege to welcome His Royal Highness, the Prince of Wales, to address us.
Your Majesties, Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of the Queen in this Platinum Jubilee year, my wife and I are delighted to be with you all here in Rwanda for this 26th Commonwealth Heads of Government meeting. I'd particularly like to thank President Kagame and the people of Rwanda for the most impressive preparations they have made. I know how difficult the decisions were to postpone this important gathering as a result of COVID, and can only applaud Rwanda's determination and patience in ensuring our gathering is successful. Throughout her reign, the Queen has placed and continues to place the greatest importance on the common friendship, humanity, and values that all of us share in this room, not despite, but because of the diversity the Commonwealth represents. And I know how grateful she is that, in recognition of Her Majesty's unstinting service to our Commonwealth family, all Commonwealth member states have announced that they have now committed themselves to the Queen's Commonwealth canopy. I treasure the friendships we have built over these past 70 years and look forward to their deepening in the years ahead. As we build back from the pandemic that has devastated so many lives, as we respond to climate change and biodiversity loss that threatens our very existence, and as we see lives destroyed by the unattenuated aggression of violent forces, such friendships are more important than ever. I take heart from the fact that working together and with urgent intent, there is a path to build a future for humanity that is sustainable, prosperous, and just. Our Commonwealth family is, and will always remain, a free association of independent, self-governing nations. We meet and talk as equals, sharing our knowledge and experience for the betterment of all citizens of the Commonwealth, and indeed the wider world. The Commonwealth contains within it countries that have had constitutional relationships with my family, some that continue to do so, and increasingly those that have had none. I want to say clearly, as I have said before, that each member's constitutional arrangement, as republic or monarchy, is purely a matter for each member country to decide. The benefit of long life brings me the experience that arrangements such as these can change calmly and without rancor. But as I said in Barbados last November, we should never forget the things which do not change: the close and trusted partnership between Commonwealth members, our common values and shared goals, and perhaps most importantly, the strong and enduring connections between the peoples of the Commonwealth which strengthen us all. These shared values, goals, and friendships transcend the ties of shared history, as we saw in welcoming Mozambique and Rwanda to this great family of nations. And now, coming to Rwanda for the first time, visiting the Genocide Memorial and speaking to survivors, I have been overwhelmed by the resilience, grace, and determination of the Rwandan people. Today, Rwanda upholds so much that is extraordinary. As a center for innovation, a world leader in women's empowerment, a growing hub for the green economy, and a commitment to a united future. As leaders, you consider how to define and strengthen our own commitment to common purpose, and I would only offer you the view that our Commonwealth family of some of the world's most vulnerable and some of the world's wealthiest nations has the ability, indeed the obligation, to be a force for global public good. Why else, ladies and gentlemen, would an increasing number of countries want to join this association? In the diversity of the 2.6 billion people on whose behalf you speak comes great strength, which you can use, for instance, to speak up for the values which bind us, to invest in a rapid transition to a sustainable future, and to create opportunities for our young people. I believe that the Commonwealth is uniquely positioned to achieve such positive change in our world. And in speaking to you over the years, I know you agree. Indeed, I can only applaud the focus you are bringing to supporting youth, business and civil society, not least through the Commonwealth professional associations of judges, teachers and midwives, to name but three. I know the importance you attach to ensuring that support reaches the developing world, and how important is the work you are undertaking to develop new approaches which take account of climate vulnerability, to enable the better channeling of development assistance. I was also greatly heartened at yesterday's business forum to see Commonwealth leaders and global CEOs, including from my Sustainable Markets Initiative, identifying practical solutions to these vital challenges. To achieve this potential good, however, and to unlock the power of our common future, we must also acknowledge the wrongs which have shaped our past. Many of those wrongs belong to an earlier age with different and, in some ways, lesser values. By working together, we are building a new and enduring friendship. In Canada recently, my wife and I were deeply touched to meet many of those engaged in the ongoing process of reconciliation. Indigenous and non-Indigenous peoples reflecting honestly and openly on one of the darkest aspects of history. As challenging as that conversation can be, people across Canada are approaching it with courage and unwavering commitment, determined to lay a foundation of respect and understanding upon which a better future can be built. It seems to me that there are lessons in this for our Commonwealth family. For while we strive together for peace, prosperity and democracy, I want to acknowledge that the roots of our contemporary association run deep into the most painful period of our history. I cannot describe the depths of my personal sorrow at the suffering of so many, as I continue to deepen my own understanding of slavery's enduring impact. If we are to forge a common future that benefits all our citizens, we too must find ways, new ways, to acknowledge our past. Quite simply, this is a conversation whose time has come. Your Excellencies, conversations start with listening, and as the Queen said at our last meeting, the Commonwealth has always been and remains a global association which believes in the tangible benefits that flow from exchanging ideas and experiences and respecting each other's point of view. Our ingenuity, knowledge and ideas, our courage and determination are truly our common wealth. By unlocking our potential, we can build a future in which all our people have a stake, ensuring that our Commonwealth Charter represents not just words on a page, but the lived experience of all. And in so doing, we will equip our children and grandchildren to be agents of a better future. Your Excellencies, if we are to leave the world better than we found it, and that is our duty and our privilege, we must be bold with our ambition, decisive with our actions, and united in our effort. In this mission, I know Her Majesty the Queen stands with us all.
Thank you very much, Your Royal Highness, for those kind words. The Commonwealth represents a family of nations, and we also celebrate our rich diversity. I am delighted to introduce the students of the Rwanda School of Creative Arts and Music to perform their song entitled Destiny.
One goal, one aim, one destiny, striving for equality. One Commonwealth, big family.
When nations come together, to lift up one another.
Oh, what a happy picture to breathe the common future. Save Mother Nature from the belly of deception. Call upon the youth of every nation to roll up their sleeves and wake up from this slumber. One goal, one aim, one destiny. One goal, one aim, one destiny. Striving for equality. Yeah, 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 yeah. One Commonwealth, big family.
One goal, one aim, one destiny.
One goal, one aim, one destiny.
Striving for equality.
Striving for equality.
Whoa.
One Commonwealth, big family. Neighbor's home is burning. Yeah. Hurry up and put out the fire. When a hungry belly's calling, a friendly hand runs for rescue. Knowledge-based education is a healing our nation.
Call upon the youth of every nation to roll up their sleeves and wake up from this slumber.
One goal, one aim, one destiny.
One goal, one destiny.
Striving for equality.
Whoa.
One Commonwealth, big family.
One goal, one aim, one destiny.
One goal, one aim, one destiny.
Striving for equality.
Striving for equality.
Whoa.
One Commonwealth, big family. One goal, one aim, one destiny.
Destiny, yeah.
Striving for equality.
One of a kind, yeah, yeah, yeah.
One Commonwealth, big family.
One goal,
one goal,
one aim.
One goal, one aim, one destiny. Striving for
большое количество проектов выполняется, восстановление территорий идет очень высокими темпами, и уже в ближайшее время мы будем свидетелями возвращения первых вынужденных переселенцев на освобожденные территории. С этой точки зрения я также хотел бы отметить, что совместное участие в проектах по восстановлению территорий также является важным элементом сотрудничества. Мы с чувством удовлетворения отмечаем высокий уровень заинтересованности российских компаний в восстановлении Карабаха. И есть конкретные результаты. В октябре 2021 года между производственным объединением КАМАЗ и Гянджинским автомобильным заводом был создан совместный центр в промышленном парке, в зоне промышленного парка на территории в регионе, в экономическом регионе Восточный Зангезур. Также из очень знаковых проектов, где участвуют российские компании, можно отметить восстановление железных дорог, проект Городис-Ахбенд, поставка железнодорожных рельсов осуществляется российскими компаниями, и существует контракт на поставку 20 тысяч тонн железнодорожных рельс, из которых более трети уже поставлено. Продолжение исполнения контракта происходит в штатном режиме. Говоря про заинтересованность российских компаний, десятки российских компаний дополнительно подали заявки на участие в этих проектах, и идет постоянное общение между соответствующими структурами, между бизнес-структурами Азербайджана и российскими компаниями. Я думаю, что мы в ближайшей перспективе, возможно, увидим и другие примеры совместного взаимодействия по восстановлению освобожденных от оккупации территорий. Говоря о нашей географии, и, естественно, мы не могли обойти вниманием вопрос Каспийского моря. Каспий является очень важным элементом сотрудничества между всеми прикаспийскими странами. Сегодня было еще раз отмечено историческое значение согласования и подписания Конвенции о правовом статусе Каспийского моря, которое было подписано на 5-м саммите в 2018 году. С удовлетворением отметили, что Российская Федерация и Азербайджанская Республика